Brief note here at the beginning of this video. There'll be a link down below to my Etsy store where I sell my knives. Feel free to contact me through YouTube or through my Etsy. And if you have a knife that you want built, feel free to contact me. Even if you just have a question, just feel free to ask it. Please enjoy the video. Thank you for clicking on this video. This is the first of many knives videos that I'm going to do in a lecture style where I just talk about different factors of knives, maybe questions that people ask me sometimes, as well as just general information that maybe a person like you who has clicked on this video isn't aware of yet, or maybe stuff you already know. Please comment down below if there's something you'd like to see me talk about or a question you have. I'd be happy just to ramble on about it. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. My name is Mark Maxfield and I'm a knife maker. So, different ways that a knife is fastened into its sheath. Now, we're going to start off with the most common way that a knife is fastened to a sheath, a button snap. Now, this is something you'll see on a lot of knives. Everybody that's owned a fixed blade knife has probably had a knife that's held in with a snap. Sometimes you'll see Velcro instead of a snap, and I think that's a horrible idea to use Velcro to fasten a knife into a sheath. The snap is simple. It's easy to use, it's not overly complicated, doesn't require you to use a whole lot of brain power when you're operating it. Downside is if you're in deep brush or you're moving around in an environment where you've got to do a lot of rubbing, is that button can be just rubbed open. However, there is a way that you can make this button tighter. If you take a pair of needle nose pliers and you just squeeze, let's see, I'll get this up here. You squeeze here and here, and just slightly change the shape of the circle to being not a perfect circle anymore. It'll make the button snap a lot harder and a lot harder to open. If you deform it too much though, it won't even work anymore. So exercise some caution with that. Now this right here is my favorite one. It's a buckle. Now the mini buckle, in my opinion, just looks really good. It looks unique. Just gives a little unique flavor to the whole appearance of the setup. The buckle is the safest way to carry a knife because you're unlikely to lose it. Well, it takes a lot for this to come open, and so the odds of you ever losing your knife, I mean, with a buckle, it's pretty rare. It does take a little more dexterity to open it, but it's something that can be mastered pretty darn quick to where you can open the buckle with one hand without a whole lot of effort, and it's not very hard to get used to. So the buckle is the most secure, and also, in my opinion, it looks the best. Unique tie downs. Now, I have made knives where I've just had a strip of leather and you tied it in a square knot to hold it in place. That's really secure. I guess it's even more secure than the buckle, but it takes a lot longer to open. So, pros and cons. Now, this one right here is a piece of leather with a loop that's big enough to go over the guard and hold this knife in place on this sheath. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted it to imitate how a revolver would be held in a holster with a piece of leather that goes over the hammer. And this works pretty good. As long as you don't rub that open on accident, you're fine, just like you would with a revolver. And it is pretty darn secure. As long as that piece of leather doesn't get moved off of that guard, it is very secure. Friction sheaths. So you'll see these with a lot of bushcrafting knives and with knife companies that tend to charge a little bit more. Some knives are kind of slender in the handle and they don't really have a neck on them that is going to keep them in if you have a button or a buckle. And a friction sheath is the best choice for those. Friction sheaths, the knives should sit deeply and the leather should be formed to the knife that's in there. I have formed these leather sheaths to fit these knives so that they sit very snugly. And the odds of them coming out are, well, at least on accident, pretty low odds. Let's see here, I'll grab it up here on the top. Okay, so outside of that, these are really secure. The extra deep sheath that the knife can sit more deep inside of makes it just less likely that you're going to lose it. These are pocket sheaths. You actually put these in your pocket, and that's how the knife is carried. Upon request, or if I just decide to, I can add a belt loop afterwards, and these can sit on the belt. These work great on a belt or in a pocket or in a pack, as long as nothing is rubbing on them that's going to pull them out. They are an excellent choice, and in my opinion, they also have a very, very unique aesthetic appearance to them that makes them fascinating and unique. Okay, I have one more, and that's a snap that goes over the top. So here I have a formed leather sheath this was the first knife I ever made out of A2 tool steel. This is my personal bushcrafter. I'm probably going to disassemble it and reheat treat it, because back when I made this about 1.5 to 2 years ago, I didn't have a forge. I didn't have a kiln, and I had a forge. I heat treated it in the forge in A2 tool steel. It can be heat treated in the forge, but it does not perform as well as in the kiln because you don't have the same level of control over temperature. But that snap over the top makes it very convenient to carry and also holds that knife pretty securely. Let's see here. I don't think I have anything else in terms of different sheaths. One thing I realized I didn't do is I didn't pull all the knives out of their sheaths. So this is the point in the video where I'm pretty much done lecturing about fastening sheaths in. Outside of what I've talked about, there's knives that just sit in a sheath and there's nothing securing them except the weight of the knife itself. There's Velcro straps, like I've mentioned. There's just tying a string around a knife, which if you don't have a tie down or you lose it or it gets ripped off somehow, I recommend at least putting a string on. If you decide to put a string on your knife to tie it down and there's no holes to actually thread that string through, just wrap the string through the belt loop and around the knife, because that's going to be better than nothing. And if that's all you can do is just tie a string through the belt loop and around the knife, that's going to work pretty good. Now, to give you a look at some of these knives, so this is the knife that was in the buckled sheath. Let's see here if the camera will focus on it. I think it's about as good as we're going to get. So this is a knife that I've made out of W2 tool steel. It's about 0.19 inches thick, saber grind. This is the prototype of a custom that somebody else wanted built for them, but I decided to build a copy of it for myself first, just to see if I liked the shape or if I should adjust it. On the person's custom order, it's actually right here. This is the custom. Now this one is made out of 80 CRV2 and it is 1/4 inch thick. So there's the difference. Now, I'm just talking about the knives I've made now, but that's the difference between this one is more in line with the way that the guy wanted it, and this one is the first attempt at creating it. Okay, the other knives that have been in this video. The knife in this sheath, this was my first time building a leather stacked knife, a leather stacked handle. That's what this handle is right here. It's different layers of scrap leather. First attempt, I learned a lot. This handle is far from perfect, but it's very comfortable. It's a good size. In my opinion, this is what Rambo's knife really would have looked like, not the knife that had the saw blades on the back of it. Still an awesome knife, but I think this is what his knife would have looked a little bit more like, considering all factors involved with what he was expecting of his knife. This is a dog's head extra large K-bar design, and this is my personal knife. This is also one of my first knives that I made out of A2 tool steel. And this one is the same thickness as the W2 knife I just showed. So let's get it back in the sheath. Cowboy cord wrapped Bowie knife. This one is about 1 foot long, so it's a little more in the practical range. I carry big knives, I like big knives, and I don't judge people for carrying big knives. We all gotta compensate for something. So, This one right here is 1/4 inch thick. It's 80 CRV2. And that mirror finish will fade with time, as all carbon steels. If you maintain it, it'll last longer, but it looks very pretty right now. And it is a very, very nice knife. And this is the sheath for it. This is a cowboy holster style sheath that you would usually see for revolver or certain types of knives that would go on a cowboy belt. It'll fit really nicely on any old belt, but that one is, I just enjoyed making that one, and it's fun to show off. Now these two right here, these are little hunting knives. This is CPM 154CM, 61 Rockwells. I'll make a video talking about the Rockwell scale soon enough. It's a cherry wood handle and friction sheath. Point 0.1 to 0.1 inches thick steel. So it is on the thin side, but it holds up pretty well. Check out my videos on my mini hunter where I smash it through a cinder block just to show how tough these knives are even at this thinness. And this one right here is a very mini knife. This one is very small, same handle, similar sheath, and handy little hunters. And that covers all the knives that I showed in this video, I think. Then this one again, it's 0.187 inches thick, and it's got an HDPE handle. I've made a lot of knives at this point. There's a lot of experiments I've done with different steels, different handle materials, and I'll make another video explaining why I have chosen the metals that I do for most of my builds. But that's going to do it for today, and I am going to cut it off right there. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you stuck around the whole time. If you didn't, then I guess you didn't see this part, but have a nice day. Oh yes, link to my store down below.